For veneer grafting of Japanese maples, you need some green Japanese maple stock, similar to this. You can see this in its container. And if I go and compare it to a pencil, you can see here's a pencil, and that's just about the thickness of a pencil. It's rare to get exactly that thick. Generally, I do things a little bit skinnier than a pencil thickness, but again, you can see that's kind of what we're looking for. Next, you need some Scion. These right here are my Scion, and I've prepared a couple of them already. I usually strip. These are summer grafts, by the way. It is the first week of August here in Indiana. And you can see these Scion right here. I usually try to do, this has quite a few, but this has 1, 2, 3, just 3 nodes. And so 3, maybe 4 nodes would be great if you could do that. Next, I like to sterilize everything with just alcohol, and then I let that alcohol dry. So I will rub the Scion and the rootstock where I'm going to graft with the Scion, or with the alcohol, excuse me. Next, I'm going to try to show you how I would cut the rootstock. Hopefully this comes in. With the rootstock being the size that it is, the type of tree that I'm going to graft is a weeping Japanese maple. So sometimes people will graft low, very low, and then grow that new Japanese maple for several years to get it to the certain length that they want it to. Sometimes people will graft them a little bit higher on the rootstock, you know, maybe about 15 inches or so up. You could do whatever you like for just demonstration purposes. I'm going to graft it somewhere up in this area so I can maybe try to show it on the video what I'm doing. I like to graft or cut a slice into the side of the rootstock about a 1/2 inch, maybe from midway down to where that first node is. And it should be probably about 1/3 of the way into the rootstock. I'll try that and I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see right here is the cut that I made. And once I have that cut, I like to just cut the little tip off. And you can probably see that little piece. I'll try to turn it to the side here. You can maybe see, oops. And that's about how far I cut down into it. Next, I'm going to cut the Scion to kind of match that angle and that depth. Here's our Scion that I cut. I'll kind of twist it around so maybe you can see. It has 2 cut edges. One's a little bit longer than the other. The longer piece I always put to the inside of the rootstock. As I flip that around, the shorter side I put on the outside, facing the outside of the rootstock. And that flap that I cut in the rootstock goes up against that. And I'm going to insert that right now. I always put it on the left side of the rootstock, trying to match the edge of the cut that I made on the Scion to the edge on the rootstock. So right here is our rootstock and Scion, and you can see that they match pretty well right onto the edge of both cuts. I always try to match it up, and you can almost feel it. It feels like one piece right there. On this side, the Scion's too skinny, so it doesn't match up to that side of the rootstock, and that's okay.
take the buddy tape and wrap it around the scion and rootstock, overlapping slightly. Once you go from the bottom of the graft up to the top, once you're up to the top, tear it off. Don't have any extra, it's not needed. The next step is to use a grafting seal. Something like Doc Farwell's grafting seal works well, but really anything's fine. You're just trying to keep the new graft area moist so that so it won't dry out. And just make sure that after it does dry, you check it to make sure there aren't any little air holes on top that might need a second coating of the grafting seal. Once that is done, you're ready for time to take its course.
Okay, a couple things. Here is the graft that is that has the baggie around it. A little tie around the bottom just to keep the kind of a little greenhouse effect in there. I'm going to keep this on there until I can see that the graft is taken. Once that's done, I'll undo the tie, probably leave it on there for another week or 2 weeks, kind of just to see how the progress goes, and then slowly take that baggie off and expose the graft to just the environment that it'll be in. A couple things that I wanted to mention would be that I do like to do the cut on the Scion first, and then I like to try to match that depth or that length of the cut on the rootstock. So I do the Scion cut first, then I do the rootstock cut. Finally, I will put the tape around the Scion and the rootstock to hold it together, and then I put the seal, the painting seal, around that graft and the rootstock. Let that dry. Then I put the baggie over this, put it in a shady spot. Try not to water the rootstock too much, just enough to keep it moist. You don't really want a whole lot of moisture coming up into the freshly grafted area. After you can tell that the graft is taken, then you can increase the water a little bit. Still, I would keep it to a minimum, not really drenching the root ball of the rootstock. That first year after it is grafted, protect the grafts because they are not very strong, so keep them from being bumped. Keep them probably in a secure location, maybe that gets a little more shade than they normally would have to receive in their full mature life. Good luck with that. And the other thing is just practice. You'll probably have some take the first time that you do it. Pay attention to what you're doing, try it again. Each year you get better and better at it, and before long you will be able to do it very quickly.